the wealthy is above the law here. And that's why you have the wealthy that praise our system, America, the greatest country of all time, because they're above the law, while we get subjugated to a harsh authoritarian police state, right? And I want to be clear, because I use these terms for simplicity. Authoritarianism is nothing but a propaganda term. Like, you guys know that, right? Like, and I explained this when I was on the Hill, and my one and only appearance. You ever gonna see me on the fucking Hill? Because they wanted to bring me on to talk about Venezuela, and they were talking about authoritarianism. I'm like, you mean it's a country enforcing their laws? Nicolas Maduro was an authoritarian because he charged people for attempting to assassinate him and finally overthrow the government. You know the same thing that Democrats do to January 6th protesters? So when you have laws, you have to implement them. And then you have the social democrats. You have the suitable left that the CIA love, right? They say, I am a social democrat because they believe in capitalist propaganda. Why do you guys say you're a social democrat? Why do you guys say you're a democratic socialist? What kind of socialist is authoritarian? Do you believe in the dictatorship of the proletariat or not? Do you believe in seizing the means of production or not? What do you mean democratic socialism? Fuck you talking about it. Socialism is inherently democratic. So when you say democratic socialism, those are the people who fall for capitalist propaganda that believe that socialist states are inherently authoritarian. So they said, we want to do something that's never been done before, and we're going to have a good version of a socialism. They're not really dictatorship approach. They're not really seizing the means of production. We just want $15 minimum wage. Right? Now we don't actually want to see the production. That's social democracy. They stop short because they fall for the authoritarian nonsense. So I have a question for the people that listen who are like, man, I'm a social democrat. And then what are you talking about? I'm not for all that crazy Soviet Union use of your actual laws and mandate given to you by the people. I have a question for these people. Let's say you voted your way to success the way you guys wanted. Let's say you got Medicare for All implemented, signed by some president that you guys got elected somehow. What happens? Because if you look at the Bernie Sanders bill, Bernie Sanders has a progressive tax rate where if you make under $35,000 a year, you don't have to pay any into the Medicare for All pool. But if you make more money, you got to pay more in taxes. So if you're making $1 million a year, you got to pay a lot into the Medicare for All pool. What happens in your quote unquote non-authoritarian democratic society when the rich people say we're not going to pay this tax? In order to fund your Medicare for All program, we're not going to fucking do it. Imagine you pass the UBI, I mean. You have universal basic income that's progressive, that charges and taxes the rich more than the proletariat. What if the rich say no? Oh, now we ask an interesting question now, huh? So you have your quote unquote democratic socialism, the rich say no. What do? You do what they did in Cuba. You do what they did in the Soviet Union. You criminalize the people who are breaking the laws the same way the United States will punish your ass if you don't pay the IRS. You guys see what I'm talking about? So under your guys' society, once they don't pay for Medicare for all, we can't do anything to them because that would be authoritarianism. That's why I mentioned on the Hill, you either got laws or you don't. What makes it not this scary authoritarianism that you guys created is the fact that the mandate came from the people. What does the mandate for our laws come from? It comes from corporations and the oligarchs and the ruling class. Then they use force to enforce their authoritarian capitalist hellhole landscape that is artificial. But that's not authoritarian, according to democratic socialism. You guys see when you actually get into weaves. You guys see how the ideology start to fall apart. But anyway, I'm lecturing too much. I made a dedicated stream to it for more educated marks. I'm still learning. I still got a lot to learn. It's a very complicated science. But you guys see, once you get past the surface, you start asking questions like, why aren't you coming all the way over here? I remember having Rome on a long time ago because I was a social democrat. I'm more of a guy like, yeah, I'm more of a socialist. I don't know that much about communism. And that wasn't because I was propaganda. I just said I don't know. I'm not sure what the system entails, what the science entails. But unlike a lot of liberals, I'm like, I want to have people to my left on. So Rome communist ass motherfuckers with communist flags all over his profile. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna talk to that guy. Like, Rome, what's up? And Rome asked me a serious question. He like, on one of my first shows, he was like, why aren't you a communist? And I was like, oh no, good question. Convince me. And I think that's the open mind I think people need to learn and grow. And you learn the science, you realize that there's certain ways that you hold back, right? And that's why the CIA want the social democrat. They want the people that think that our system is not authoritarian. They want the Bernie Sanders that gonna endorse the great friend Jim Crow Joe. You endorse Jim Crow Joe, but they call Nicolas Maduro a tyrant. Why? Because Nicolas Maduro enforces laws. But Andrew, I know you want to chime in. I've been ranting. I apologize, but go ahead, Andrew.
No, you're good. Just to piggyback in, every time nowadays, now that I've learned the history of World War I a little better every year, every time I hear of the Social Democrats, I feel like I have to bring this up. The Social Democratic Party in Germany predates the existence of the term communism as a political party or a political identifier for oneself. There were splits in the Social Democratic Party in Germany and in Russia in the lead up to and during World War I, where the people who ultimately became the communist parties were saying, we should not be supporting the war effort of our own country. They're going to send working class people to fight and die against working class people to move the lines, the boundaries around on the map for these different empires. And we want no part in that. And in Germany, the Social Democratic Party in Germany was enormous. They were one of the largest parties in the entire German parliamentary system. But the people who were better off, and this is where you see class differences shining out as a very important thing to pay attention to. The people who were very well off, who really had controlled the party for a while and tried to push it further away from Marxism, which at that time was their core. During the German Revolution, which came right after the Russian Revolution, you had all of the sailors firing on their commanding officers who had told them to continue to fight the war to preserve the eastern portion of the German Empire. They en masse revolted and mutinied and ended the war, and they formed soldiers and workers' councils that ran Germany for almost all of 1919 and early 1920. Well, what did the Social Democratic Party do? The people that didn't want to stop the war and join the new communist parties, they worked under the table with the old emperors, the Kaisers, and the Kaiser's old military staff, Hindenburg, and they helped to create and direct the Freikorps. The Freikorps was a Contra-style early fascist paramilitary that ultimately became the Nazis. The Hitler spoke very highly of the Freikorps. They were using the swastika in the way that the Nazis used it at that time, and they were used to hunt down and murder people like Rosa Luxemburg and Karl Liebknecht and the other, really critical organizers and newspaper writers who were helping to try to steer the workers' councils away from people like the really wealthy labor aristocracy people who were running the Social Democratic Party. They literally created the Nazis to stop communism. And nowadays, the SDP is in government right now in Germany. They're still around doing shit. They're the coalition with the Green Party and others who are running Germany right now and sending Leopard tanks to go and attack Russia rather than making peace with their neighbors.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic contribution. There's so much to learn, man. I tell you guys, there's so much lessons to learn. And whenever I study history and whenever I learn more stuff, it just reinforces the power of class dynamics in politics and why that rules everything. Why and it reinforces why that's so important. And kind of why I have my attitude and I roll my eyes at people who focus mostly on nonsense, culture war bullshit